Hey guys, it's Christian from Lost in Discovery and welcome back to my One Piece journey. Today we're going to be talking about the Water 7 arc, chapters 322 to 374. Apologies for being a little bit late this time. I had so much going on with work and my personal life that I had very little time to read One Piece. So the way I read Water 7 was through very intense chunks, but with kind of like a week between them. So my thoughts might be a bit scatterbrained on this, and there is just so much to cover. Now, before I start breaking it down and giving my thoughts on specific moments, I'll just give you an overall idea of how I feel about Water 7. And that is, I'm in love from the get-go with this arc, this saga, this entire thing. I cannot wait to see how this wraps up in Enies Lobby, because the way Oda has built this up, it has just got me itching to keep reading instead of filming this video right now, if I'm honest with you. What he has managed to do with this arc is really elevate One Piece in my mind. He has taken some parts that I felt were a little lacking in One Piece, and he has really brought them to the forefront and to the spotlight, and he has executed it with just exquisite talent, to be honest. And I'm kind of in awe about how he's managed to juggle so many different aspects of storytelling in a very concise, very well paced arc, to be honest. And the way this arc starts, I really enjoy these in-between moments where we're with the crew and we're going from one island to another. So the crew had just finished or wrapped up their intense experience with Aokiji. My god, it was just so nice to see them calmly heading to the next island, ready to find a shipwright, with Luffy's stupid drawing of what he was expecting. And I love these calm moments with the crew. They're few and far between, but I really cherish those chapters where we can just breathe for a second before we discover something new and amazing. I loved how Luffy came out from all of his injuries, imitating how he was frozen by Aokiji, just to kind of bring the mood up. It was quite an intense experience they'd all been through, and it was just nice to see Robin kind of feeling comfortable and smiling with the crew. And it's foreshadowing of what's to come, where we find out she has quite a love and affection for these guys. So Oda throws us straight into Water 7 by showing us the Sea Train, which is just a cool design, and we meet some of the new characters of Water 7, mainly Kokoro, this eccentric grandmother, and this freaking frog who is jumping in front of the train for whatever reason. And I knew as soon as I saw this animal, I knew it, because Oda does this all the time. I'm like, this animal has a lot of introduction. I bet it's going to have some weird, heartbreaking backstory as to why he's jumping in front of this train. And of course, he delivered it to me. It's like we had Laboon, I'm still not over it, and now we've got this frog who's just... Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself, let's just calm down. So arriving into Water 7, this place, hands down, is the place I'd want to live most so far that I've seen in One Piece. It is just Venice on steroids in the best way possible. I love the design of it. I love the creatures they ride to get around. I love the design of the buildings, the bridges, just a city on water. There's something just so romantic about that idea and so beautiful and appealing to me for whatever reason. And Oda kind of took all those elements of Venice and just elevated them completely. I could read a whole arc of just the shopping adventures of Chopper and Robin throughout Water 7 and be completely satisfied. So I guess I'm a little bit biased when it comes to this arc. Now, in these initial moments, we kind of just have quite innocent times with the crew. They're just exploring their surroundings, meeting new people, the Galila company, learning about Iceberg and his new pet. Doesn't he have a mouse or something named Tyrannosaurus? I don't know. I love how Oda is able to give seemingly serious characters all these eccentric little designs or eccentric side bits that kind of throw you for a loop and you don't know what to expect. So we have some cool innocent character moments in these initial stages. Nami, Usopp, and Luffy exchanging their winnings from Skypiea into money, seeing Nami kind of work the guy to get it to 300 million, and a lot of innocent moments with Luffy just not understanding the concept of money and being so nonchalant about it while the other two are freaking out. And we have the boys protecting the ship, and Robin going off with somebody from CP9, and I just knew from this moment things were going to take a turn for the worse. Where it goes really wrong is where, let's just talk about this, the star of the show really of Water 7 so far, which is Usopp. Usopp loses the money that they have just cashed in, and he feels terrible for it, and he kind of has a huge run-in with the Franky family. We introduced to so many people: Water 7, Galila Company, Iceberg, Franky family. It's incredible how, whilst reading it, it happens so smoothly. But now I'm saying it, I'm just like, wow, there was just a lot happening. But it was just executed so well. Regardless, it just begins this massive insight into Usopp as a character and his inferiority complex within the crew. He has always been that regular guy who is surrounded by a bunch of kind of superhuman freaks, to be honest. That is the Straw Hat crew. And it's been hinted at and kind of nudged at and explored in little panels here and there, but it is at the very center of all the conflict found in Water 7. And this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, that Usopp finally just kind of breaks down and feels terrible for letting down the crew like this. And just when Nami found Usopp just beat up and crying on the street, all bloody, I just couldn't help but feel so terrible for him. But when he showed up to the Franky family, there's an incredible panel of him just looking like the ultimate badass, which, to be honest, is kind of rare for Usopp up to this point in the story. And I just really felt for the guy, and I just wanted to see him succeed. Which leads, of course, into probably what most people are waiting for me to talk about, is the huge drama as to what needs to happen with the Going Merry. So talking to the Galila Company, they find that the bottom of the ship, I forget the technical term, but that is pretty much gone to crap, and once that is, once that is damaged, there's no saving your ship, and you kind of have to let go. And at first everyone is quite determined to save it, but Luffy eventually makes the executive decision that they need to let it go and to move on. But Usopp is not having it. And look, let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the fight right now, because this was the moment where One Piece went to another level for me. Because sure, a million stories have like the inner conflict between the tight friendship group, but no other story that I've read has executed it so freaking well. When I was reading these chapters and the confrontation between Usopp and Luffy on the ship with the whole crew watching, minus Robin, I felt like I was watching some family's very personal moment that I shouldn't be seeing. It was written so well and presented so realistically that it kind of made me uncomfortable, but it kind of took me by storm, because One Piece, I didn't necessarily think it was going to get to this level of just feeling so visceral, to be honest. This fight just felt just so believable to me, and it kind of took me out of the real world and really immersed me into this moment. It was just such a messy fight. Luffy's gonna say things he regrets. Sanji kicks him and tells him to stop. Usopp's just basically, what I've gathered from it really is that Usopp, it's not necessarily about the ship, is it? It's more that Usopp's kind of identifying with it. He's thinking to himself, well, if something can't contribute to this crew or step up to the plate enough, that they're just going to abandon it. So if they're going to abandon the Merry, they might as well abandon him. And it is just, on one hand, I agree with Luffy. It's like, let's just move on. We have to let go. But I understand Usopp's insecurity, and it's almost like he's seeking reassurance in these moments, but he's not getting it, and it just keeps getting messier and messier, and Nami's just crying in the corner, Chopper's crying, Sanji's getting annoyed, Zoro's he's just brooding over it, and it just felt like the end of the Straw Hats as we knew him. Everything was crumbling apart, and it was quite difficult to read, if I'm honest, but my god was it compelling. It was just so brutal. Usopp even turned away Chopper, and it's just like, if you're gonna tell Chopper to get lost, Is there any coming back from it? I don't know. Maybe you have to create an alter ego as a sniper or something to deal with your mental issues. Of course, this leads to the duel between the two of them, and this might be my favorite fight in One Piece so far because, you know, I can see, like, Luffy has had some great punches, and all the guys have had some great hits, guys and girls, and they hit hard because it's like usually against some idiot, some evil bastard who deserves it so much, and you get that moment where Luffy cracks him in the face, and it feels so good. But the difference with this one is you feel terrible about every single hit, and they hit 10 times harder for it because it's our two legends, Usopp and Luffy, and nobody really wants to do this fight. And I was honestly completely flabbergasted about how well he did against Luffy through using the knowledge of just being his mate for so long, and we're getting all these flashbacks of all their good times as it's happening, and Oda's just pulling at your heartstrings like there's no tomorrow. Luffy gets all bloodied up, but it comes to a point where he just steps up to the plate and cracks Usopp beyond repair. And honestly, seeing the reaction panels of the crew just killed me. It was just, like I said, like watching a private family fight that I shouldn't be seeing, and it was hard to watch. And that iconic shot of Luffy holding his straw hat down, tears running down his face, just saying, "This is too much." And I was like, mate, I agree with you. I need to take a break because this is bloody intense. And Oda sneaks in that beautiful panel of the Going Merry with the water under its eye, appearing as though it's crying, which is made even more painful later on in Water 7, where we get the realization, as far as I can understand, that the Going Merry is sort of sentient. Its spirit came alive in Skypiea, and you guys pointed that out to me. Well, you nudged me in that direction in our Skypiea stream, which was amazing. So that payoff was incredible to see, and just made what happens to the Merry so much more heartbreaking. So yeah, honestly, this moment felt like the climax of an arc, and we were just getting started, and I already felt exhausted, but I couldn't keep my eyes off the page. It was just executed to perfection, to be honest. So let's talk about Franky, aka Speedo Guy, as Luffy calls him. This guy, when he was introduced, I was like, what an evil, annoying bastard, you know. But I won't lie, buying the One Piece manga, reading on the Shonen Jump website, like, I've seen Franky before. I know he lasts throughout the series. I don't know in what capacity, but it's like I've seen Franky. It's hard to avoid some of these characters just being in the world of One Piece. So I was like, okay, this guy's going to be a key character. How is Oda gonna bring him into the story in a natural way that makes sense, and I'm assuming makes him sort of likable? I was really lost at first because he made him so annoying and unlikable, and he destroyed Usopp. He's fighting with our boy Luffy and Nami, and there is a bit of comic relief because he's just in his speedos dancing around with those two chicks with the square hair. I mean, when you talk about One Piece, you just, out of context, you just sound like a maniac, to be honest. But that's pretty much the first impression you get of Franky. It's like he's just a complete wild card, and I couldn't necessarily understand how he was going to place himself in the story. But what did catch my eye immediately was that he was a cyborg, which is something completely different from everything else we've seen in the story so far. I mean, the fact that he is fueled by cola with his pompadour and his whole design, this guy's like straight out of the 50s, and he's just so eccentric. He's just hard to look away from. But what really caused all this tension between Franky and the Straw Hats, besides the whole Usopp thing, which I haven't really been able to touch on, is the whole attack on Iceberg and this whole situation with the Galila Company shipwrights. I don't even know where to begin with all of these plot lines. So we get confirmation from Iceberg that Robin was indeed part of this attack on him, and this whole time I'm trying to wrap my head around why Robin would do this. I thought CP9 was like a term to wake her up as a sleeper agent or something, because as far as I could tell, like, okay, she has some motives we're unaware of and clearly a dark past or a traumatic past of some kind, but I never saw any ill will from her with the Straw Hats. She was always up for it. She is always smiling and she's always enjoying herself. So especially when Luffy said it, like, Robin, I don't buy it. I don't buy that you're against us. I was like, yeah, Me neither, but I couldn't explain why. Regardless, we have this whole thing where the Straw Hats are blamed by all of Water 7, or all of Water 7 is under the impression that they have attacked Iceberg, and Iceberg is loved by all. One of my biggest pet peeves in stories is the misunderstanding. I can't deal with it. I hate misunderstandings. I hate when good guys are seen as bad guys and people turn against them, or people are framed for things. I hate it so much. But the reason I could get through it here, because Luffy is like me, as soon as he realized there's a huge misunderstanding, he is like straight lining it straight to Iceberg to clear the air. And just knowing that Luffy's on the case put my mind at ease, and I could enjoy reading it so much more. And this twist that pretty much all of the Galileo company are actually CP9 agents threw me for a loop. I did not see this coming for a million years, and Rob Lucci is one of the most terrifying villains we've seen yet. He really threw me for a loop with this like seagull or whatever, this parrot, whatever he has. Like this, you know, Oda did that. He threw that in just to throw us off. I'm like, okay, Iceberg, oh my god, Iceberg has his little creature. Lucci will have his one. No, this guy's a psycho. This guy's terrifying. The martial art techniques that the CP9 agents are able to utilize, and this sort of finger punch that's like a bullet, they were so intimidating, and they pretty much wrecked the crew entirely. And it feels weird to say, but I like seeing the crew get destroyed, because I know the payoff is going to be that much sweeter when we get to it. And I just feel like during this time, also what led to them losing was just they're so beat down that the crew, the strength that they had during the times of Alabasta and Skypiea, it's not there right now. There's been a huge fracture with Usopp. Even when they're able to talk to Robin, she is completely pushing them away as much as she can. She's saying that, you know, I don't want to have anything to do with you, I'm out, I've got this whole other thing going on. And you can just tell they're beat down. They lack that clear motive that pushes the Straw Hats, that clear sense of justice or motivation that pushes them through to the next level. And they didn't have that in this fight, and they got destroyed because of it, or at least that's how I interpreted it. And it's at this point, I can't believe there's actually all of this that happened in one arc, but it's at this point we get the whole backstory between Iceberg and Franky and Tom, and freaking Kokoro was there too. My goodness. Okay, so Tom, the best father figure of all time slash shipwright who built freaking Goldie Roger's ship. Oh my god, this guy's amazing. There's a lot of fishmen coming up as I'm reading One Piece. I just feel like there's a lot more to uncover there, because we met them in Arlong Park, but he keeps showing, like, I've got to stay on track. Oh my god. Okay, we know that Tom built Goldie Roger's ship. Incredible. Love that tie into the overall narrative. It feels like we're almost following Goldie Roger's path from Skypiea now to Water 7. And he took in both Iceberg and Franky as basically his sons and raised them, and they had two different philosophies with building ships. Franky was building his sort of warships, and Iceberg was of the impression that you should not build weapons, because even if you don't intend to use them for evil purposes, just the fact that they're out there, you're responsible for whatever happens. And we see the repercussions of that in the most terrible way, where all of Franky's ships are used to attack the people of Water 7, and it creates this entire catastrophe. And you just knew it was going there because it's a One Piece backstory, and what's a One Piece backstory without a heavy amount of traumatic events and regret? Just seeing the relationship between Iceberg and Franky develop as children, and the rift parting them from the events that happened with Tom, it was just seeing the demise of Tom and seeing how he sacrificed himself through basically accepting his crimes of the past by helping Goldie Roger to erase the crimes committed by Franky and the lads right there. It was just an emotionally poignant moment, if you want to put it like that. Oda does a backstory like no one else, and I just love that moment where Tom, he's been so fine with everything, all the mistakes Franky has made and everything that's gone wrong, but where he drew the line was where Franky regretted the ships he built, and he's like, no, as a shipwright, those are your children and you should never abandon your children. And it's a great comparison to how Tom is with the lads and everything he's done. And it was just one of those lines that really hits you when you read it and hits you when you talk about it now and kind of reminisce on it. And here it ties into that bloody frog's backstory, because it saw Franky jump in front of the ship, the sea train, to stop Tom going to Annie's lobby to get executed, and he's trying to... He just writes so well. He just writes so well. And then it explains why Franky is a cyborg as he is. He's used all his talents. I wish they kind of delved into a little bit more how he's done all of this. I don't know if it will be touched on again, but if I don't see it, I'll let it go. It is One Piece after all. I don't need the meticulous detail of how he makes his whole cyborg situation work. It's from this point onwards that you just get a completely different perspective on this entire arc of Water 7. You see Iceberg in a different way, you see Franky in a completely different way. You're starting to get insights into how they learnt about Robin, that there's all these ties to Pluton and ancient weapons, and she's one that can activate it. We find out that her entire island was obliterated because of one, and only she survived. So we have all of these threads and all of this clarity. All of a sudden we know who CP9 are, and we can start working towards a goal from this point, and it is just gasoline from this point onwards. And I loved this pairing of Franky and Usopp, because we know Franky's story now, we understand Usopp of course, and their stories kind of meet in such a beautiful way, and Franky's actually super touched by everything Usopp has to say, and he's an outside party who can kind of bring reason to Usopp in a way that he can see what's happening with the Going Merry. Even though he does know it, it's nice to hear it from somebody else. And this is where I started to really take to Franky even more, because I was like, okay, I understand him from his backstory, but he's still been a bit of a douche in the present day. But now he started to come into a more softer side and sort of ease Usopp into a place where he's ready to accept what happened. This is where we learn about the spirit of the Going Merry. Even though you're losing a friend, do you want that friend to live on and see you guys get hurt knowing that it can't protect you? And I was just like, man, I never expected, when I first saw, was it Kaya? Is that her name? Usopp's crush, give them this ship. I never expected to get to this point and be so emotional just seeing Usopp and the guys just come to grips and come to terms with its demise. It was great, and I love that Franky was a key part of that too. Just the final moment of Usopp watching Merry be destroyed, just emotional brilliance. Like standing ovation for that. It hit perfectly. And we get the realization about why Robin is doing what she's doing. Basically, she's been threatened by a busticle, which is pretty much what happened, what kind of sparked the event, as far as I can tell, that destroyed her island, and she's so traumatized by it. And you find out that this is actually ordered by Aokiji. So I'm assuming he's seen how, when he ran into them on Longland, he saw that how attached she was actually to the crew, and thought, I can use this as bait. So he's threatened a busticle on these guys, and we see a panel, I forget who she's talking to, whether it's Iceberg or someone else, that she's like, no, I care about them. They actually took to me, and they took me in, and they showed me kindness. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. And, Nami gets this information, and from this point forward, it's like, yes, we know that Robin didn't betray us. Beautiful. Let's get going. Let's sort this out right now. But the thing is, Zoro's stuck in a chimney and Luffy is stuck between two buildings for like a good 10-15 chapters, by the way. And it was just brilliant. And finally the moment where Nami can do bloody parkour. Honestly, when I think about it, Nami was running around Water 7 sorting out everybody this arc, and she was just completely impressive. As impressive as pushing two buildings apart though with your bare hands. Like Luffy, I don't know, it's a pretty tight competition if I'm honest. So it is just straight ahead into the climax of this arc, where the Aqua Laguna has finally arrived, this huge weather event that threatens to completely engulf Water 7 to a whole degree that it's never done before. One small moment that I did notice here is when Nami was getting quite agitated or angry about not being able to chase Robin on the train to Enies Lobby, they comment that, oh wow, this wave is just got way bigger than we'd ever seen before. And I had this moment of like, is this Nami's mood affecting the world around her and the waves? It just felt like he touched on that to quite a significant degree that it kind of felt like I should have noticed something there, or I sound crazy right now. Don't confirm or deny for me, but I guess I'll find out. And it was so satisfying to see the Franky family, the remaining Galila company headed by Paulie, and the Straw Hat crew join up together because they've all got their reasons to chase down this sea train to Enies Lobby. We've got Franky, we've got Robin, we've got to sort out the justice against CP9 and their terrible acts against Iceberg, and of course Nico Robin. And you know, it could have just been a normal train chase. It was incredible that we got the runaway sea train rocket version or whatever, but the fact that Oda has gone to the trouble to make it that each cart in the train to Enies Lobby having like a level up boss system for Sanji, Franky and Usopp, it was just so entertaining. The boss designs, I'm just gonna call them, the ramen guy, the 100 good deeds per day T-Bone dude, like they were just so creative and so fun, and I could just sit back and enjoy One Piece without too much trauma at that moment, which was quite a breath of fresh air after all this infighting we've had for so long. And I found it particularly interesting that Usopp walked away but kind of adopted this new persona as the Sniper King. I feel like a therapist would have a field day with this guy. I just feel like Usopp has a lot to work through with his insecurities and his inferiority complex, and the fact that he has to adopt a completely new persona just to be able to help just shows how ashamed of himself he is and how much he's hurting on the inside. I just hope he doesn't stay in this persona for too long, even though it is quite comedic and quite interesting. Just for his own sake, I hope he's alright and that he can work through this moment within the next arc, or by the end of the saga we see Usopp again as Usopp. There are just so many high stakes moments as we're speeding towards. We see how Zoro cuts through the giant wave. It was amazing when they're speeding up to the other cart that's been disconnected by Sanji, and Zoro freaking cuts it in half and versus T-Bone. T-Bone's like, oh my god, he read my move. So I'm convinced Zoro has this sixth sense that he can predict people, or something is up with Zoro with his senses. I don't know what it is yet, but it's clear that he's got some extra power that has not been fully explained yet. This chase sequence and these emotional conversations with Robin and this eventual arrival at Enies Lobby has just set the stage. And I'm predicting that all that's really left to be revealed, as far as I can tell with the characters as we know them in this arc, is I feel like we need Robin's backstory at this point. We have been hinted and nudged to it and teased about it, but I just want to sit down and I want to read what the hell happened to this woman that has made her like this. And I just want her to realize that, you know, she just keeps saying, I don't care, just leave me, I'm just gonna die, whatever. I just hope that she finds some purpose, and I hope she realizes to the fullest extent that not only, okay, she does realize that the Straw Hats care about her, but I hope that she realizes that her admiration and care for them is a reason to go on. I just hate seeing someone in such a hopeless mindset that they've just accepted their fate and like, so worth it, I'm just gonna die. It's just, especially someone as lovely as Robin, who you can tell has so much to offer, you just hope she pulls through because the Straw Hats care about her so much, and to see her go would just be terrible. Also, quick mention to the door fruit. Whoever in CP9 that has the door fruit, it was cool enough that he can make anything into a door, but on the train he can make doors through air. So we've got a guy who's literally got like a freaking portal gun in One Piece. Like that is just ridiculous. Some of these devil fruit powers are crazy. Look, I know I've missed a lot in this arc. I was looking at my notes, I've missed stuff. There is so much I couldn't talk about here for fear of making this video way too long. But if you're new, I do a stream after every saga. So after Enies Lobby and post Enies Lobby, we'll do a Water 7 saga stream, and I can talk about all these little moments I noticed and these little passing things we can talk about in more detail. And anything I haven't missed here, you can ask me about there too. So look, those are my thoughts on Water 7. Incredible. It took One Piece to another level. The tension within the crew really elevated the series for me. I felt like it was needed, and the way it's connecting to the overall plot and the interpersonal relationships in such a seamless way whilst introducing new characters has just been an absolute joy to read. So I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. I'll be back soon when I finish Enies Lobby, and hopefully I'm not too traumatized by whatever the hell happened to Robin. I mean, we know her whole island was destroyed, so I'm pretty sure I will be traumatized. But regardless, I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to talk to you about it in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.